River. Hey, I got a new lesson for you about ancient Mesopotamia. The Euphrates River and the Tigris River form the cradle of civilization. Acadians long ago.
What's up, everybody? Happy day. All right, sorry. Y'all got to see a little bit of my goofy side. All right, so today, doing something a little different. All right, we are starting a new part of our world history curriculum, and I'm really excited about it. We've been learning a lot about the hunter-gatherer lifestyle, the way that people once lived, simply just going and chasing their food day after day, trying and struggling to survive. And then we get introduced to the advent of agriculture and how that changes the world for humanity. There were some great things that came from agriculture, and one of those great things that we're going to see is the rise of civilizations. Now, what is a civilization? Well, basically, it is a largely concentrated area of humans that has a writing system and has a series of laws. If you have that, then technically you would be considered a civilization. Now, that would have been impossible without the introduction of agriculture. And the first civilization that we're going to learn about in this class is called Mesopotamia. All right. It is located in the Middle East. I'll show you all a picture real quick if I can get this pulled up right here. Let me go to this real quick. So if we want to see exactly where it's at, here's our little town right here, or more. If you cross this ocean right here, what ocean is that? That is the Atlantic, right? And then you go to Europe, Africa, Asia, like right in the middle. We're going to have this area called the Fertile Crescent, which is right through here. If I can actually kind of mark that. Y'all probably see like right here, right? Where it's real green. This is where we're going to spend a huge chunk of the next few weeks in this class. We're going to start right here with a little area called Mesopotamia. All right, Mesopotamia, Egypt's down here. If I can write real quick. Yeah, I'm trying to use my mouse. Egypt, right there. Learn about Egypt very soon. And then we'll learn about Canaan, which is actually like right here. That's good enough. All right, so that's where we're going to be at for the next little bit. We're going to be in Mesopotamia. I'm so excited to teach you all about it. Let me go back to where we were. So today we're going to do something a little different, kind of like fill in the blank type sheet. That's going to be something that you can use possibly down the road for your studies. So this is all about life on the river. All right. So what we're going to do is you will have something that looks like this. This is my little key right here. All right. When we get to a blank, if you know what it is, shout it out. All right. That is kind of the goal for today. So if you kind of anticipate and see where this is going and you say, hey, you know what? I actually know the answer to that. Then go ahead and shout it out because you may not be wrong. You may be wrong, but it's okay to be wrong sometimes. So let's talk. All right. So here's what it says. All right. It says, rivers support the growth of civilization. Early people settled where crops would. What do y'all think that would be right there? Crops need to do what so we can survive? Yes. Whoops, I'm going to make that all caps. Grow, right? Crops usually grew well near, give you a hint, sorts of wata, agua. It's the river, all right? Where water was available and regular floods made the soil. What do you want it to be? What do you want your soil to be if you're going to be able to farm? What do y'all think? It'd be rich, right? One region in Southwest. All right, now I just told y'all a second ago, we're kind of between three continents: Europe, Africa, and the final one. What do y'all think it is? Asia was especially well suited for farming. This land was between, give you hints, the number starts with the letter T, not one, two, all right, two rivers, all right, the land between the rivers. These are the names of these rivers, all right. This one is really close to our school mascot name. What do y'all think it is? It is the Tigris River. And like the song was saying a second ago, I'm gonna make y'all listen to this song, and by the time we're done, y'all gonna know every word of it. Euphrates River. Yep, just like that. All right, it's a good song. All right. Tried to tell my wife that we should play it at our wedding. She said, no thanks. That's how you're going to spell Euphrates right there. Euphrates. All right. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers are the most important physical features in the region, sometimes known as, now y'all going to love this because y'all going to have to write this a few times. My bad, not my fault. All right. Sometimes known as Mesopotamia. Now, what's that word again? Everybody say it. Mesopotamia. All right. Means Blank the rivers. All right, and I'll give you a hint. Meso means in the middle. So if it's in the middle, it must be what? Tween. Very good. All right. The rivers in Greek called, or the region called, said it's called Mesopotamia, right? Lies between Asia Minor and the Persian Gulf. So if we go back to that chart that I just showed y'all a second ago, all right, here's the Persian Gulf right here, right there, all right, and the Mediterranean Sea right in there, and Asia Minor. Asia Minor is technically this little area that we're learning about. So the region is part of a larger area called the Fertile. I know when it's shaped like a moon, like a half moon. What do y'all call that type of moon? Don't say croissant. I know y'all probably hungry. Croissant. All right. But crescent. All right. The region is part of a larger area called the Fertile Crescent, a large arc of rich or fertile farmland. Now, what were the name of those rivers again? Everybody, say it. All right, say it. Yes, sir. Tigris and Euphrates rivers. All right, flow down from the hills into this low-lying plain. And guess what would happen because the plain was so low? Guess what would happen with all the water? Yeah, it would stay. And guess what people could do there? Yeah, they could farm. All right, so the rise of civilization. Oh, this one's a gimme, y'all. Y'all know what this is. Hunter what? What we've been learning about in class so far? Hunter-gatherers, all right? The first hunter-gatherer groups first settled in Mesopotamia more than 12. What number do y'all think this is? How many years ago do you think it is? Humans are really not that old. 12,000 is the estimate, okay? Maybe younger, but it's close. All right. Over time, these people learned how to plant. What do you plant, guys? Something that you can eat. It is crops. So, yep, to grow their own. What do you grow? You can eat it. You know, I don't think what I ate tonight grows in a field. I ate cheese pizza. Yeah, it was good. And my breath smelled like cheese pizza. It's stanky. All right. So every year, you think this is every year blank on the Tigris and Euphrates rivers brought blank. It is. It is flood. That's what the river does. All right. Floods on the Tigris and Euphrates river brought. Now I'll give you a hint. All right. It's very closely spelt like the word silk, S-I-L-K, but it's not silk. It's a special type of dirt. All right, it's silt. All right, a mixture of rich soil and tiny rocks, tiny little rocks to the land. The fertile silt made the land ideal for what are these people doing that make them settle down, get away from that hunting and gathering? Farming. Very good. The first farm settlements formed in Mesopotamia as early as not 1,000, not 2,000, not 3,000, not 4,000, not 5,000, not 6,000, but 7,000 BC. All right. And we know what BC means before Christ. You can also say BCE if you wanted to. All right. Farmers grew wheat, barley, and other types of grain. Livestock, birds, and fish were also good sources of food. Plentiful food led to, well, what's going to happen when you get more people? If you got lots of food, you're not struggling to survive. You're not going to die, you know, like you were if you're a hunter gatherer. It led to population growth. Very good. Villages formed. Eventually, these early villages developed into the world's first. What do we say it's called when you have people, when you have laws, when you have language? All right, developed into the world's first civilization. All right, so it leads us to laws and organization. Okay, so check us out. Farmings and cities. Although Mesopotamia had fertile soil, farming was not easy there. The region received little rain. This meant that the water levels of what are the name of those rivers? Oh, yeah, you better know already. Tigris. Oop, can't spell. Tigris and I say it or should y'all say it? Euphrates rivers. Depending on how much rain fell in eastern Asia Minor, where the two rivers began. When a great amount of rain fell there, water levels got high. And what would destroy the crops, y'all? Some of y'all mentioned this the other day. Flooding destroyed crops, killed livestock, and washed away people's homes. Can you imagine that, right? We live in a place where really flooding's not a major issue, right? We have no massive rivers really close to where we live. But if you do live close to a massive river, you know, it's something you need to consider, okay? When water levels were too low, what would dry up? Well, they're trying to get food. It'd be their crops, of course, right? Farmers knew they needed a way to control the river's flow. So here's how they controlled the water. To solve their problems, Mesopotamians used, we call it when you control the flow of water. Some of y'all might even have this like in your yard. You might call it a blank system. Irrigation, all right? A way of supplying, well, what are we moving, y'all? Water to an area of, where do we want the water to go? Land, all right? To irrigate their land, they dug out large storage, and I'll give you a hint. This is where you would keep your water. It's technically like what a pond is. We call it this, a basin, all right? They put large storage basins to hold water supplies. Then they dug these. These are human made waterways, all right? It is canals, all right? Or human made waterways that connected to a series of, or network of, y'all might have these in your front yard. It keeps the water from flooding your front yard. What we call that? Ditches, all right? These ditches brought water to the fields to protect their fields from flooding. Farmers built up the banks of the Tigris and Euphrates. These built up banks held back floodwaters when river levels were high. Later, people built, was that C word again? Canals to protect. What would you want to protect and keep from being destroyed by floods? Their homes from flooding and move water to their fields. So let me show y'all a picture real quick. All right, it's kind of cool. So if I click on this, right, y'all will notice right here. You remember a second ago how we talked about how they would build up the banks, right? They build up the banks of the river. Look at this build up right here. Why they would do this? Why they would build it like in that arc like that? Why? It was to keep when these rivers and these canals would flood, it would protect the crops. So the crops are okay. All right. They gonna be all right. And that's what they would do. And you can even kind of see it on this map a little bit. Notice this ledge right here, it's kind of built up a little bit. They would do that on purpose. You can see it right here. They build up. It was almost like little mounds, okay, that would protect the crops and the homes. All right. So let's talk about food surplus. Y'all know what a surplus is, right? Surplus is when you have more than you actually need. Um, so this is what that's going to have to do. This is what this has to do with how they farm. So let's talk about it, okay? Food surpluses. What was that term where we move the water? Irrigation. Increase the amount of food farmers were able to grow. In fact, farmers could produce a food surplus. Now let me ask y'all this: what's the opposite of a surplus? All right, we would call that a shortage. All right, a shortage, but we want surplus. That means you have more than you need and you can actually preserve it, or more than actually needed. Farmers also used irrigation to water grazing areas for cattle and sheep. As a result, Mesopotamians ate a variety of foods: fish, meat, wheat, barley, and dates were plentiful. Not dates with a cute girl. All right, dates is a type of fruit. I do not like them. Some of y'all may have had them. It's kind of like a dried up raisiny type thing. I don't. eh, not not yummy. But anyways, some people like them. But because irrigation made farmers more productive, fewer people were needed to farm. So guess what that allowed? Some people became free to do other jobs. All right. As a result, new. It's a fancy word for jobs. What do we call it? On as being a teacher, it's an occupation, right? Developed. For the first time, people became, check out some of these jobs. What do you call someone who makes something, right? You got crafters or craftsmen, right? Religious leaders, and who makes the laws, y'all? Government workers. The type of arrangement which needed each worker, the type of arrangement in which each worker specializes in a particular task or job is called a, not multiplication, but division, all right? Division of labor. Having people available to work on different jobs meant that society could accomplish more. Large projects, such as constructing buildings and digging irrigation systems, required, what do you call it when you need a certain type of worker who has a special skill? Oh, I gave it a key word away right there. Specialized. Right? Workers, managers, and organization. Okay. To complete these projects, Mesopotamians needed structure and rules. Structures and rules could be provided by, we call it, what organizes the people in this country, make sure they're all doing the same thing. Laws. And who makes the laws, y'all? The government. All right. So finally, we get the end here. All right, the appearance of cities. Over time, Mesopotamian settlements grew in Where you get bigger, we call it what? Size. And this is where things are not simple anymore. What would that word be? Complexity. All right. Oops. If I could spell. There we go. They gradually developed into cities between 4,000 and 3,000. What year term would we use here? BC or BCE. Either is acceptable, right? BC meaning before Christ, BCE meaning before Common Era. Anyways, you should know that by now. Despite the growth of cities, what do y'all think this is? Community of people, large community of people. We call it society. And Mesopotamia was still based on agriculture. So, regardless of how big everything got, without farming, what do you have? You have nothing, right? Absolutely nothing. In Mesopotamia, it was still based on agriculture, though. Most people still work in what type of jobs? Farming jobs. However, cities were becoming important places. This is where people did what with their goods? We played a game with this the other day. We called it bartering, but when you barter, you're doing what? You are trading. All right. They traded goods here, and cities provided leaders with power bases. They were the political, religious, and cultural and economic centers of civilization. So, on the outside, you got to understand. I can go back to this real quick. Let me show you this, and it'll be yours for today. All right. Let me clear screen. Go back to this. There we go. I know how this works now. All right. Like right here, you might have a really nice city, right in there. But if you go around the area, right, you may not have a city. I mean, think about a town like Ardmore, right? You got the town center, but when you get away from Main Street, when you get away from in front of the school, right, what do you have? It's farms. Think about Limestone County as a whole, right? Athens is the more metro population, right? Lots of people, but you start getting into Elkmont and Salem and Ardmore and Tanner. It's a lot more rural, right? Not saying Athens isn't a little bit rural, but still, does it make it clear? Think about Birmingham, right? Before you get to Birmingham, it's rural. Before you get to a place like Nashville, it's rural. Same thing here is happening in Mesopotamia. And here's some other things that I want you to see real quick, and it'll be yours, all right? Let me go back. So if you want to look at this real quick, here's a nice picture of some canals, some ditches. You got some basins that are going to be stored up here for, possible ponds and things like that where people can, feed their crops and feed their animals. And here's a picture of what social structure looks like, right? Like not everyone's a farmer. So you got to understand who controlled everything. It'd be someone like a king, and then you have the nobles, right? The nobles are people who work for the king. We'll learn that term as the year goes on. And then under the elites, the nobles, you would have the common folk, right? Just your common person. Check us out. Officials, farmers, merchants, craftsmen, and fishermen. That was common in Mesopotamia. And at the very bottom, slaves. Now, what do you think slaves did? Well, just like any civilization, slaves usually did the jobs that were extremely taxing on the body, right? So, that's the key here. They would work on buildings, grind grain, weave cloth, anything that was physically and mentally taxing that your common folk didn't want to do. That was left for the slaves. Where do these slaves come from? Well, we'll learn. All right, we'll learn very soon. Usually, slaves came from. Anyone take a guess? They would come from captured war prisoners. That's usually where the slaves came from. So, with that being said, guys, we are going to wrap up. If you have any questions, feel free to holler at me. All right, and never forget, Euphrates River.